a world of epic proportions, there is only one man who will give you the most explosive video entertainment in the world, and that's Notorious XRP. Stay tuned. Check out these 2019 trailers.
Why did you invest in gold? Are you living in the past? In a digital world, gold shouldn't weigh down your portfolio. You see where things are going. Digital currency are the future. They're secure, borderless, and unlike gold, they actually have utility. Leave the pack behind. It's time to drop gold.
Hope this works. Yeah. Everybody, down! Hands up! Put the bag in the money. Put the money in the bag.
Trying to secure your financial future with plain old money, huh?
Just put the money in the bag, will you, please?
Sure. It's just that if you really want to grow your portfolio, you should probably be trading crypto in the pit.
What's she talking about? What's the pit?
We tried trading crypto, but our exchange was so slow.
Yeah, not to mention how often we got locked out of our account.
You should try trading in the pit. It's a brand new crypto exchange powered by blockchain.com. It's actually really fast and reliable.
Damn it, why didn't we think of that, Bill?
You idiot, you used my real name.
Bill from Spin Class? I thought that was you.
I was there once. Get up now.
So you want to get into cryptocurrency?
It's hard to know who you can trust.
There are a lot of scams out there.
Everyone knows a guy who knows a guy.
Sorry.
Who knows a guy.
I'm the guy. So make sure you know who you're dealing with.
Or you could end up investing.
With me.
Ladies and gentlemen, the final match. The referees from the International Arm Wrestling Council. The finalists, undefeated in 5 years, five-time world champion, Paul Hurley. And ladies and gentlemen, the sole remaining challenger, Lincoln Hart, the man who has surprised everybody here today. The challenger and the champion, Paul Hurley, and Lincoln Hart, or should we say, David and Goliath. The winner here tonight will walk out of here with a World Cup, a $250,000 trunk from the Volvo White Company, $100,000 in cash, and the title of Arm Wrestling World Champion.
saw some Twitter traffic, one in particular, Crypto Bitlord, that's threatened to take over because they say that you, the company, is dumping, that you're pushing supply out to the market. Can you explain to me the difference between XRP and Bitcoin with regards supply and with regards how much ownership Ripple itself actually has as a proportion of XRP out there at this moment?
Okay, so the first thing to understand is these are all open source technologies. When people talk about, forking technologies, you have seen Bitcoin forked multiple times. You have Bitcoin Cash, Bitcoin BSV, Bitcoin Cash, Bitcoin Diamond, Bitcoin, I can't name them all. There's 4 or 5 forks of the Bitcoin blockchain. Bitcoin, obviously, the primary BTC has remained kind of the most notable. But in the same way, people can take XRP, an open source technology, and hypothetically, they could fork that if they chose to do so. Now, around the ownership piece, as is the case with Bitcoin, there's some big whales that were early in the Bitcoin community. There's one wallet that has 1 million Bitcoin in it. Nobody knows who owns it. In the XRP community, Ripple is the largest owner. And the point I have made is we are the most interested party in the success of the XRP ecosystem. We're very focused on our use case and how do we solve problems with XRP. But one of the things I'm excited about is you're seeing a growing ecosystem of other players investing in other use cases around XRP.
It doesn't even belong on my arm wrestling table. That's my area, that's my game. He's got no shitting business there.
Our 2 finalists are now psyching each other up. Can you imagine? Link Hop is giving away just about 100 pounds to Bull Hurley. That's a lot to give away in arm wrestling, ladies and gentlemen. Where strength is so
Let's go.
All right, gentlemen, let the competition begin. May the best man win.
Come on, chicken shit. Raise your elbows here. Off you two. Come on.
What I do is I just try to take my hat and I turn it around, and it's like a switch that goes on. And it's like a switch that goes on. And it's like a switch that goes on. And when the switch goes on, I feel like another person. I feel like a truck, like a machine.
I own you. You've been ducking me for years. You got no chance. You know that? You know that? Come on, Hawk, back in here now.
Dad, don't let him psych you, Dad. Remember what you told me. You can do it. I know you can, Dad.
Get in here. Come on. Grab the shoulder. You got no power, Hawks. You got no power. Rubber down. Back off, I'm gonna give you a world of hurt, little man.
So, but you agree that you can control the price to some degree because ultimately the Ripple community has so much power, no?
And all I want to do is hurt him, cripple him, get him off the table, and so he never dares try to compete against me again.
XRP is like a Bitcoin. It's a digital asset. It's today the 3rd most valuable digital asset. And what we do is we take a transaction between banks, and instead of having a bank pre-fund an account at the other bank, which is how correspondent banking works today, the Bank of Brad in dollars would pre-fund to the Bank of Julia, perhaps in pounds, and then I would debit and credit that. But that means I have to pre-fund and have dormant capital sitting at that other bank. What we allow banks to do, allow payment providers to do, is to tap into the liquidity of XRP liquidity. So today there's lots of liquidity between XRP and US dollar. There's lots of liquidity between XRP and British pound. And you could tap into that to move value in real time, in seconds. And even compared to Bitcoin, which takes up to 12 minutes to complete one transaction, XRP is extremely fast at about 3 seconds per transaction. That has meant XRP is extremely scalable in contrast to how Bitcoin works.
Please, let's go.
of the match. They're together right now. World champion.
Those hurt hot.
Dad, come on, take him. Over the top, Dad, over the top.
Get in here. Come on. Ready, go.
From a consumer point of view and how we're working with, for example, a MoneyGram, the consumer itself doesn't actually see that it's flowing through XRP to solve the problem. What the consumer sees is simply a better product at a better price. That's good for MoneyGram, that's good for MoneyGram's customers. And so we're seeing more momentum than we've ever had around using XRP to move this liquidity around the world. And so we couldn't really be happier about how that has played out in a world where there's still a lot, I think, of FUD, a lot of uncertainty, a lot of doubt about what's going on in crypto. This is a real use case solving a real problem for real customers.
Right now are actually using Ripple?
We have signed up about over 200 banks around the world. Some of those banks just use our software to do that debit and credit, fiat to fiat, and some of them are using XRP in those flows. We have banks like Santander that we've been working with for years and are moving lots of volume through the Ripple's technology. And then, as I mentioned earlier, payment providers like MoneyGram or RIA or Asimov that are using XRP actually to move that liquidity and really reducing their costs and improving the product.
we record this.
Yeah.
So you're saying it's going to be that by January.
I'll share a quick story with you. Last year, July 12th, I'm in London attending Blockchain Week, and the entire cryptocurrency market is melting down like 37 to 42%, something like that. Bitcoin's down 40%. People are freaking out.
Yeah, I was there.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I'm getting emails. Chica, why didn't we sell? Why didn't we sell? The whole market's down. We should have taken profits. I mean, I'm just getting inundated with mail. And so I'm in London. Bitcoin's down 40%. It's at $1,850 a Bitcoin. And people are losing their minds. So I just got a tip-off that there was going to be an announcement later that year that I knew was going to radically transform Bitcoin and radically transform the price of Bitcoin. So I get in front of a camera and the market's falling apart and I say, yes, Bitcoin's at 1850 right now. Yes, Bitcoin is down about 40%. Bitcoin is going to go to at least 10K this year and the entire market is going to 4X from this level. The hate mail that I got from making, you're irresponsible, how can you tell people this, you're giving people false hope. You gotta understand, Glenn, everything I say and everything I do is based on research. Right. So back in July, the reason why I was so bullish on Bitcoin is I had just found out that the CFTC, the folks that govern all the futures trading in the United States, had just approved the first step for a Bitcoin futures contract. So I knew once a Bitcoin futures contract started trading, a whole nother leg of money was going to come into the space. And 10K, I knew was going to be a low number. By the end of the year, we hit 20K. Now, if I had said 20K, I'm sure my publisher would have had me Baker Act.
And you know what? People would have said, you said 20, it hit 19.4,
right,
19.7.
Right,
you know what I mean?
Right.
That's why I'm like, I heard your prediction. Bring it down, bring it down. What was really frightening is he said, I did bring it down. I'm like, bring it down some more. All right, so this can be, if people understand, low sums of money.
Right.
Spread it out, follow the system.
Yes.
It actually can be fun.
Yes.
You know, as it gets up to 35,000 or whatever it gets to, you know, then it'll be up to us not to freak out and go, you would just have to just leave it alone.
You gotta leave it alone.
All right.
Our view is that there's a balance of opportunities and risks, and it would neither make sense to squelch the opportunities nor to ignore the risks. You know, these innovations, these financial innovations, including stablecoin concepts, could bring to transactions what the internet brought to information, which is to have transactions that are instantaneous, that are very, very cheap, and that are very secure. And that would be a benefit. It could lead to greater financial inclusion. It could mean you could make a payment to someone in another country that would happen instantaneously and be very cheap, where that's not possible. It is a challenge to incumbent financial institutions. These are opportunities.
Commissioner, Mr. President, I rise again, I'm afraid, to make the same old hoary speech that I've been making here for several years, and that is, it is my opinion that you do not really understand the concept of banking. All the banks are broke. Bank Santander, Deutsche Bank, Royal Bank of Scotland, they're all broke. And why are they broke? It isn't an act of God. It isn't some sort of tsunami. They're broke because we have a system called fractional reserve banking, which means that banks can lend money that they don't actually have. It's a criminal scandal, and it's been going on for too long. To add to that problem, you have moral hazard, a very significant moral hazard from the political sphere. And most of the problem starts in politics and central banks, which are part of the same political system. We have counterfeiting, sometimes called quantitative easing, but counterfeiting by any other name. The artificial printing of money, which if any ordinary person did, they'd go to prison for a very long time. And yet governments and central banks do it all the time. Central banks repress the amount of interest that rates are, so we don't have the real cost of money. And yet we blame the real retail banks for manipulating LIBOR. The sheer effrontery of this is quite astonishing. It's central banks that manipulate interest rates, Commissioner. And plus, underneath all this, we talk loosely, in a rather cavalier fashion, do we not, about deposit guarantees. So when banks go broke through their own incompetence and chicanery, the taxpayer picks up the tab. It's theft from the taxpayer. And until we start sending bankers, and I include central bankers and politicians, to prison for this outrage, it will continue.
First of all, what we have is an agreement on core principles. It has three parts: agriculture, industrial tariffs, and digital trade. And from our point of view, it is extremely important for our farmers and ranchers and those people who work in the digital space. We'll get into the details at another time, but
any other advanced type of assets that you can transact with using Ripple?
So there's some pretty cool stuff coming, or that's already come on board. So Ripple Singapore, for example, is now allowing gold, platinum, and silver on the Ripple protocol. So you can buy that today and settle there, and they're going to need
Another reason that we're focused on payments, a lot of the blockchain applications that I hope you're going to hear about kind of for the rest of the week, we believe they depend on payments. So trade finance, gaming, lending, smart contracts, insurance, identity, supply chain management. At the end of the day, a lot of the power of blockchain is kind of faithfully recording information that you value. And you want to make that information dynamic. You want to transfer ownership, and that's a payment. And so we believe that this Internet of Value concept, which kind of involves all these applications, really relies on having kind of a strong payments infrastructure under the hood. XRP, great for payments. So one is that accounts are actually primary objects in the system. They exist in this distributed ledger. So in Bitcoin, there's this unspent transaction output model where kind of in some ways you're getting a new set of public-private keys after every transaction. So if you have an ongoing relationship, you want an entity that you can refer to over time that exists. You don't want to have to be coordinating and tracking extra information to be able to do business with somebody else. Also powerfully, since accounts are primary objects, they can own things. They can have their own private keys that they cycle through. They can participate in secure multi-sign functionality. They can, in fact, issue assets on the ledger, so IOUs that represent real-world obligations. Kind of more recently, you may have heard talks about decentralized exchanges. The XRP ledger actually pioneered this. Back when it was created in 2013, on the ledger, you could trade XRP and all of these different issued assets, and you had this kind of decentralized, atomic multi-asset payment settlement, which is really powerful. There's other features like payment channels, which let you kind of settle or let you handle very high-frequency, low-value transactions. Maybe 3 seconds is too slow for you. But maybe you have somebody that you're willing to tolerate a little bit of risk. You pre-fund a small amount of XRP with them. You do your transactions offline, and then you settle periodically on the ledger. So it's a powerful scalability technique. Lastly, for smart contracts, XRP Ledger has a cryptographic escrow. So you can lock up XRP within the ledger, and then based on a cryptographic condition, so maybe the output of a smart contract, you can then release those funds.
I say thank you, but what I'm thinking to myself is that quarter, those quarterly results were actually pretty much fully baked about 3 years ago. And so like today, I'm working on, a quarter that is gonna happen in 2020, not next quarter. Next quarter, for all practical purposes, is done already, and it's probably been done for a couple of years. And so if you start to think that way, it changes how you spend your time, how you plan, where you put your energy, and your ability to look around corners gets better. So many things improve if you can take a long-term. By the way, it's not natural for humans, so it's a discipline that you have to build. The kind of get rich slowly schemes are not big sellers on infomercials. And so that's something that you have to sort of steel yourself for, discipline, and teach over time.